Grand risings. Grand rising. Oh, we got to turn that off. I don't want to see that. Thank you. Bid you all a grand rising this morning on the Morning Mental. First time we're doing it live on YouTube. If you were on Instagram, we just left Instagram about 10 minutes ago, letting you all know to follow us over here. Now, this is an exercise in following simple instructions. Following simple instructions. You know, I remember I had a bicycle when I was a child. And when you're a child, you know, this is what a lot of people don't understand is that children are like clay. A child is like a blank blackboard. And a lot of children today probably don't know what a blackboard is. A child is like a computer that hasn't been programmed yet. You get out of it depending on what you put in it. I'm on my morning mental. So when you give something to a child, the child believes that what you've given them is probably the best there is. Children are amazing how they can take something and find 1,000 different ways to have fun with it. And it could be something as simple as a ball. As a child, when I got my bicycle, I thought it was the best bike in the world. Oh, I went everywhere with it. Took it places that it wasn't supposed to go. It was just a bicycle, but I treated it like it was an off-road vehicle. Dogged it out. And one day, I went to my mother because I felt in my finite wisdom that it was time for a new bike. Back in those days, we had what was called the catalog. The catalog. Your mother always had a catalog. I'm on my morning mental. And we would go to the catalog. And y'all remember this? We would sit there and flip through the catalog. And while we flipping through the catalog, we would wish for the things, or we would make a list of the things that we was going to get one day. Or we would look in the catalog and find out what we really wanted for Christmas, because we believed in Christmas back then for children. And we would circle it or make a mark so that when our mother or our father looked in the catalog, they would see it. And then somehow they would know what we wanted. I'm on my morning mental, y'all. So I went in the catalog and I went looking and I came to the section on bicycles. They used to have a section for bicycles. And I saw this beautiful navy blue. Back then it was what we call a Schwinn. It was a Schwinn, and you know, it was like a 12-inch. It wasn't a 10 speed. It was like a 12 speed. It had different speeds. So I wanted that bike. I went, this is the one for me. Fully loaded. You know, I had the paint job, you know, it had the reflectors. It was everything I ever wanted. It had signal light on it. You know, you could turn it, had put batteries in it, but it had signal light. And then you had the really nice ones with the generator. You were the power source. The more you pedal, you know, so I wanted it. I didn't know what the price was. I had no concept of money yet. Isn't it amazing that something that can corrupt our whole lives, we're born knowing nothing about? Ooh, I could stay right there on the morning mental. So when the time came for me to present my proposal to the powers to be, I went in as humble a fashion as I could. And I said, I want this new bike. I'm on my morning mental, y'all. Good morning, Grand Rising. If y'all, you take the greeting. And I said, this is what I want. And I remember Christmas came, Christmas morning came. We all ran downstairs to get our Christmas gifts, as we call them. And I looked, and there was a bike, or there was a bicycle, but it wasn't the one that I was looking for. Grand Rising to you all. Let your friends know we're on YouTube this morning. We are not on Instagram this morning. If they're looking for me on Instagram, they need to come on over here. Okay? We're going to bounce back and forth until they figure it out. And so I looked, and there was a bicycle, but it wasn't what I asked for. So, as a child, you don't really have a lot of say-so in these matters. So I just took the bike and, thank you, Mom. But inside, I was upset because I did not get what I thought I should get. I did not get what I thought I deserved. I didn't get what I was looking at or what I was looking for. And so I took that bike and I dogged it out just to be spiteful. I dogged it out. Oh, I took it all. I mean, I tried my best. I figured if I tore it up and got rid of it, then I would get the one that I wanted. That's how it works. Oh, so I flat tire, broke mirrors, dent spokes. I mean, just all going off the curb. Y'all remember when you ride a bicycle, you go off the curb and you don't know it's coming. And it has a high curb. It drops down. It'll hurt you. Mm-hmm. And then after I dogged it out, I went back to see the powers to be in the house. Grand Rising to you. I'm on my morning mental this morning. And I went and I said, well, I need a new bike. This one is broken. This one is done. And I remember, I'll never forget this. My mother, she said, you can't have the bike that you want. I'm like, wait a minute. That's how this works. You told me, ask and I shall receive. You told me if I came to you appropriately, if I read all the right books, got all the good grades, cleaned my room, did all of that, that entitled me to come to you and ask you for whatever I wanted. And you said you would give it to me. Well, didn't I learn a lesson when she said, you don't get what you want until you can prove that you can handle and take care of what you already have been given. That struck me because the bike was in terrible shape. So I had to go and learn how to take care of that bike. And oh, did I take care of that bike? I did. I learned everything. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I learned how to take the butterfly pieces off of the spoke. I mean, off of the handlebars and take the tire off. I learned how to change a flat. I learned how to wash the bike. I learned how to put grease on the gears. I learned how to adjust the brakes and tighten the cable. I learned all of these things about what I had. And when I went back, one day my bike was gone. All I was upset. My bike was gone. Somebody done took my bike. I even went out and bought a lock for the bike. And the bike was outside and now it was gone, lock and all. Oh, I was hot. I was looking at my brothers sideways. I was accusing my sister. She was in on it. I figured that they got together. I'm on my morning mental, grand rising. I was on my accuse somebody because this had to be a conspiracy to sabotage and take away from me that which I already had and was just learning to appreciate. And then after I had wreaked havoc with my brothers and my sisters, I came downstairs and there was a key on the table with a note. And it said, for every key, there's a lock. Where is the lock? What is it? What's this? And it was signed, the powers to be. And so I started looking around to see where this key could have come from and what it could go to, because as children, we're extensively curious and we love a challenge. And I looked around and this key fit nothing in the room. And then I realized that this key was not meant for where I am. It was meant for someplace else, because there was nowhere where I was that it fit. And so I thought, well, maybe it goes to the door. But then when I went over to the door, it was too small. And then I looked, and outside, in the very same spot where I had my well-kept, well-taken care of, raggedy bike, was the bike that I saw in the catalog. I was speechless because I really was enjoying taking care of my old bike. But yet, because of my obedience, because of my due diligence, because of putting in the work, because I didn't complain, because I was thankful for what I had received my heart's desire. We, as a people, are like that. We're childish in our demands. I'm on my morning mental, grand rising. We are selfish in what we think we deserve, but it is the will of the Supreme Creator that since this world is a classroom for the development of your soul, you will only get what they give you, and you will only get what you deserve after you demonstrate that you can handle what you already got. I say that to say this. I give simple instructions. If you can't follow simple instructions, how can you ever expect to participate or handle or operate in a much more complex operation of liberation, of nation building, and of unification? Because there are multiple instructions and they're very complicated, and some of them are connected to each other. I'm looking at people who are finally figuring out that they need to be over here on YouTube this morning and not over on Instagram. Follow simple instructions. And now Let me tell you what Yah has placed on my mind this morning. Imagine, if you will, a child, a teenager, a young adult who's sitting around the house listening to their parents have a discussion about reparations. Mm-hmm. Yet the child does not know what reparations are, nor do they understand what the argument is about. But most importantly, they don't even realize that they apply to them. And that's how a lot of us are when it comes to the topic of reparations. Reparations, repairing, is different than restitution. Reparations is money that is paid as damages for an offense against a country or a group of people from a particular country. And normally it's because of something that one country has done to another. The same way there is no country called black. You cannot pay reparations to a color. Many of us who are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, many of us who are descendants of the Portuguese slave trade, many of us who are blood descendants of those people who were brutalized during this time, many of us are ignorant to why we should be paid reparations. Many of us are ignorant as to what true reparations are, and many of us fail to even go and look in the catalog to see what it is that we deserve, what it is that we want, and then many of us are too ignorant to even understand what we have right now. Salute to the president, of the African country of Namibia. Salute, sir. You see, there's a lot of talk right now in this country because the country of Germany offered a sum of money for reparations, and this country turned that down. They said, no, you need to go back to the drawing board with that. 9 million francs, 9 million euros, $9 million, 9 million whatever, can never replace the cost of a human life. There's much more that goes with reparations than a simple payment. No, you got to go fix that, Chief. You see, most of y'all are going, well, why are they paying reparations to the people in Africa? Is it because of slavery? Mm-hmm. No, it is not. You see, Germany committed genocide against some of your brothers and sisters. Many of you all are unfamiliar with this. So you go through life thinking that the only people that deserve reparations are those of us who were victims of slavery. Not true. I'm back in, and I want to be clear about this. So let me get a little closer because y'all know I ain't got my glasses on this morning. But many of you all are unaware that Germany actually went down to Northern Africa. Y'all, hold on for a second. I'm trying to get this right. I don't want to misquote. And you know, when you don't know, you always want to be able to read. I want to salute Africa News for providing this information for me. But reactions are pouring in over the government rejection of a 10 million euros genocide reparations offer from Germany. Namibia's president, Hage Geingob, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct, sir. He said that the reparations offered by Germany for the mass killings in its then colony, they call it a colony, I call it an invasion, were not acceptable and that they needed to be revised. And for some, they don't even understand, well, what are the reparations for? Here's what they're for. Between 1904 and 1908, German occupiers, invaders, killed tens of thousands of indigenous I'm going to try my best to pronounce this, and y'all please help me out. Do not mean any offense. But Herero and Nama people between 1904 and 1908, which historians call the first genocide of the 20th century. In the Battle of Waterberg in August 1904, around 80,000 Hereros fled, including women and children. And German troops went after them across what is now known as the Kalahari Desert. Only 15,000 people survived. And to this day, the German government has so far refused to apologize for the killings. In 2015, 5 years ago, while people in America were walking around screaming Black Lives Matter, in 2015, the two countries started negotiating in an agreement that would combine an official apology by Germany as well as development aid. Somewhere along the line, I guess those negotiations or whatever they were went left because the people ended up with this paltry sum of 10 million euros. That should do it. That's what they said. And thankfully, there is someone in leadership who looked at that and said, you must be out of your rabid ass mind to think for 2 seconds that that's going to replace. And this is only for 80,000 people. Don't y'all see where I'm going with this? You see, that was simply for them killing those people for 4 years. In the African, transatlantic, Portuguese slave trade, victimized hundreds of millions of Africans and indigenous people on the North and South American continent, in the Caribbean, and so forth. You see, anytime you have a race of people who have aspirations to rule the world on the backs of their own of other people, but their own kind, humans. Anytime you have aspirations like that, and you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, well, you all did break a few eggs. You broke the whole damn box, and you didn't even get what you thought. This vision of an all-white world where you stand on the backs of Black people, that's what a lot of you all deep down inside really want today. Even though you won't say it out loud, it's really deep down inside what you really hope for. And you just kind of hope we go along with it because we're supposed to be stupid. See, there's a difference between being stupid and being ignorant. Watch this. The definition of someone who's ignorant, or the definition of the word ignorant is simply you don't know. I was ignorant to the fact, which means once you become aware of the fact, you're no longer ignorant to it. But stupid is a little different. Stupid is not only are you ignorant to the fact, but you don't even possess the mental capability to go find the answer, understand the answer, digest the answer, and then apply the answer to whatever it is that you need to upgrade your knowledge on. We have become a lazy group of people We believe that these devices that they've given to you, and they've even given you a code name, it's called a smartphone. But the truth of the matter is a dumb phone because it's made you absolutely stupid. You won't go any further than this device to educate yourself on something. You will not put the device down and go read a book. You will not put the device down and go to a particular place to learn about something. You will not put this device down because it's a smartphone. And if I see it on here, if I see it on this thing they gave me called the internet, I am now intelligent enough. Morning mental. It has dumbed you down. And many of you are so far gone that even now I'm wasting my breath. But for the learned ones, for those who seek knowledge, for those who still believe that I don't believe everything someone tells me, I like to go and look it up for myself and be like, have an aha moment. Ask yourself this question. When was the last time you had an aha moment? Most of us missed the piece that when it was time for me to ask for that new bike, I had to go to the source to get the information. If you're incapable of going to the source, then how can you find the backbone to stand on information that you're not sure of? If you're so weak-minded that someone can put something in your head and you believe it without question, then you're not fit to receive the gifts of what's in the book that you want. You see, we want salvation. We want reparations. We want elevation. We want all of those things. Yet we suffer the indignation because of the stagnation of not only our imaginations, but of our own self-education. You go back and rewind and play that back again for yourself. Most people who do go to the source and find out the truth, those people are the ones who, even though they see the truth, they respond in a stupid fashion because they reject what's in the book. They reject the truth because they're controlled by their emotions. And remember, emotions never lead you to a good place when you're trying to come to a logical decision. Oh, we all know that. That's why a lot of us in life right now are in some crazy ass places because we went with our emotions instead of going with the information that was presented in the source. I want to send a massive grand rising to all of my brothers and sisters behind bars, because you of all people know that when you take away all of our toys, we realize that the one thing you can't take away from us is our mind. You cannot take away our soul. And our mind thirsts for knowledge. Our soul thirsts for salvation. So we search for it and we want the real deal. I was watching a special last night on the History Channel about Malcolm X. If you haven't seen it, you can look it up here on YouTube. It's a great piece. You ought to go watch it. The part that I found very interesting was the part where they went in depth of Malcolm Little. But I also watched how they handled the information because they knew that that information would have an impact on the Black nation, within the nation of the United States. And when I watched it, I thought it was interesting how so many people watch these particular types of specials from a point of emotion. They're angry now all over again. They're crying all over again as they go through the story of Brother Malcolm. But then they turn it off and they walk away and they go back to responding out of ignorance because they're thinking, emotionally. Going to the source is always the best for everyone involved. I'm on my morning mental. There are things out here that will clearly give you what you want, but it requires you to do some work. If you want to find out who a person is, where they came from, you can go to a place called the Department of Vital Statistics and pull their birth record. If you're curious about who your parents were, grandparents, great great grandparents, and so forth, which is rather relevant in the reparations discussion, Vital Statistics has that information. If you'd like to know a little bit more about your relatives that were traded in slavery, there are some institutions that still have the records of the business transaction. We hold these so that all men are created equal. You do realize when they wrote that, we were not considered men. They had relegated us to the beasts of the field. Well, sometimes those things that are not written for us are written for us at a later date. On the morning mental, you go to the source. You have to go to the source. So when you want to talk about reparations and you see what happened over in Namibia, don't just go on word of mouth that they offered them reparations and they just turned it down and that's it. And you base your entire discussion and your opinion on that information. Most importantly, did you pay attention when I said that they said it was the first genocide of the 20th century? It was the first time that a group of people were slaughtered in a mass to eliminate an entire group of people. You see, you can't say it was the first unless there was a second, and a third, and a fourth. And then they laugh in your face about it. You remember Taz. We all remember the Tasmanian Devil, the cartoon character. Everybody loved Taz. He would show up, boom, 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 and he would act up. It's a tornado. But most of you all don't even realize that they're making fun of another group of people that they committed genocide against. If you go and you study the Tasmanian, if you go and study the genocide that was committed, genocide, the complete elimination of an entire group of people, yet you find it so hard to believe that they would commit genocide against you today. They don't have to do it with a sword and a musket. There are multiple ways to kill off a group of people now. You know this if you did your research and went to the source. You can stop crying for reparations because you'll never get them until you go to the source and find out that you need to become a country first. And then you can ask for your reparations. You'll never figure out what you have until it's gone, because then you go and do your research. You know, Edgar Allan Poe, who was from my place of birth, Richmond, Virginia, is considered by Western civilization to be one of the literary greats of this period. But many of you all would be surprised to know that that man died penniless, broke, and destitute. And after he died, they went into his home and they found his writings. And when they found his writings, they said, this man was a genius. Now he's considered to be one of the greatest of all time, the telltale heart, all those type stories that we were required in our indoctrination that you call an education. Because if you had a true education, you know that prior to 1619, there's a whole world you know nothing about. That's right. Massive salute, Lieutenant P, Forever Family in the UK. Massive salute to the Nzinga Garvey movement in the UK. Salute from the NFAC. Sometimes you have to go to the source in order to get what you're looking for. And I'm on my morning mental this morning, and I want all the children and the youngins who really don't understand what this whole reparations thing is about in the United States. I encourage you to study reparations that are being paid around the world by different countries for different reasons. And when you get done with that, you're going to have an aha moment. You're going to say, well, if all of these people are getting reparations for this and that and the third, why aren't we getting reparations? Because, as we say, they put you in a trick bag. They've got you so hung up on your color that you haven't realized you have no country. You're so caught up with saying Black Lives Matter that what you fail to realize is that there's more to that sentence. It should say Black lives from this Black country matter. And where's my money? Where's my financial aid? Where's my restoration funding? Where's my grant from the UN on a revolving basis? Isn't it amazing that when the very people who destroyed your culture, who destroyed your land, who destroyed your bloodlines, that when they do this to themselves, they have no problem saying, oops, we're sorry, we screwed up, you're right, let us fix it. Here's some dough to get you through it. And then after that, here's, a little aid so you can maintain. And we're sorry, here's an apology, we're sorry. You're going to realize that you ain't got none of that. In the United States, the descendants of slavery haven't even so much as received a formal apology from the United States of America. And it costs them nothing to write it. That should tell you the truth about the people you want to integrate with. That should tell you the truth about the people you want to be kumbaya with. It should tell you the truth about the people that you're so afraid of will wipe you out and kill you if you stand up for yourself. When everything that we've seen shows us the opposite. You can keep going on what you feel, or you can look at the facts right in front of you. You will never get reparations, nor will you ever get restitution until you begin to treat yourself as if you deserve it. Crying about it is not going to happen. And then on top of that, since we have become such a integrated planet, since we've become a global organization, a global all this, that, and the third, global civilization, now we've become so mixed up with other people that a lot of us don't realize that the very same thing that happened to the folks when they left Egypt before they could enter into the promised land is happening to us. Oh, y'all don't know? Let me hook you up on the morning mental. You see, when the Hebrews left Egypt after Moses, when they followed him into the desert, they never made it straight to the promised land. There were too many people who were still in this group who thought that, nah, we shouldn't have left. We should have stayed. We had it made in the promised land. Why did we have to leave? Why do we follow this man out here? He gonna get us all killed. There was still a whole lot of them in the group. So before they could enter into the promised land, they had to wait until those people died out of the current crop. Once they were all gone, now you can proceed into the promised land. We are not going to get what is owed to us, we're never going to achieve that which we want until all of the bad seed has died off, right? Wrong. Here's why. You're being kept in a position until people like myself and people older than me die off. Because the group that's coming up, they're putting information in your head so you won't think about these things. They're leaving things out of the history books so you won't have a reason to wonder why you might be owed something. They're waiting for all of us to die. And then once we're all gone, they'll take you into the promised land that they built for themselves. And that's why to know the truth, to know the ledge, to be able to function and realize who you truly are, you have to go to the source. And when you're trying to kill off all of us who know the truth, we are the source. That's my morning mental. Short, fast, and sweet and to the point. Join me tonight. Facts over feelings. Before I go, I would like to acknowledge all of the coalition members of the NFAC. Now, the biggest. Well, we've got two honors. First, the biggest all-black militia in the United States. And now, the first international black militia in the world. And I will see you tonight. And I bid you shalom. And don't forget, if you want to know the truth, go to the source. And if you find out the truth and you still don't accept it, it's because you don't want to, not because you couldn't. I love all of you. Have a fantastic day. Shalom.